The late 90s saw a wave of girl groups fueled by an industry at its commercial peak, which was defined by large budgets, development deals, and high-profile producers. One such group is Blaque, the trio mentored by Left Eye, a member of one of the most iconic groups of the era, TLC. With a record deal after only 6 months and the support of Sony Music, they had everything going for them. But that early momentum was met with a series of setbacks that never quite allowed them to reach their full potential. This is the story of a group that had all the right elements at the right time, but never quite became what they could have been. Welcome to the Unsleever. In today's video, I want to talk about one of my favorite albums by a girl group ever. I will discuss the formation of the group and try to trace the making of the album. There was a lot of drama around them, especially involving industry politics. They went from being on the cusp of world domination to practically vanishing. And as always, there will be some unsleeving of the vinyl editions of the era. If you haven't yet, subscribe for more videos like this one and check out my other deep dives such as Brandy's Aphrodisiac, TLC's Fan Mail, or Mariah Carey's Rainbow.
Give him the love that he wants, not to. Give him the love that he needs, not to.
Yo, off the hook, off the meter. Yo, this is bananas. That means it's good.
I love you guys. I love you.
The very first time we saw Blaque was in 1997 in the music video for Not Tonight remix that features some of the biggest female rappers of the time: Lil' Kim, Missy Elliott, Da Brat, Angie Martinez, and Left Eye. They appeared alongside other stars from the era like Mary J. Blige, Escape, SWV, Queen Latifah, the list goes on. But to understand why they were in such a high-profile video, we need to go back a little bit. Shamari Fierce grew up wanting to be a singer. She would do the rounds in talent shows, and at age 14, she tried to form a group that went through many different lineups. One of the members that would join at one point would be a high school friend, the multi-talented Natina Reed, who was known in her circle for her natural talent for music. They met a producer who was looking to form an urban country group, but this lineup lasted for about a year before Natina's father, who was a preacher, forbade her from singing secular music. Despite Natina leaving, Shamari continued to try it with the group, eventually connecting with vocal coach Cinnamon Robinson, who was known for her involvement in Star Search. She would end up managing the group, now named Intrigue. They went on to sign what was known at the time as a development deal, in which a newly formed group would spend a long time rehearsing together and finding their identity. This would allow them to do showcases for record executives and eventually find a record deal. During this process, another girl joined the group, Brandy Williams, who was 12 at the time. Brandy came from a very musical family that had ties to Motown and 80s pop. But sadly for Intrigue, their search for a record deal was not successful. And mind you, in the 90s, getting a record deal was essential to get your music out there. There were no streaming platforms or sites like MySpace where one could share their music. There was a lot more gatekeeping than there is now. But the fate of 2 members of the group was about to change forever. Natina Reed was back in the picture. After her parents' divorce, she went back to pursuing secular music and had met producer Ronald Lopes, brother of Lisa Left Eye Lopes from TLC. Ronald had heard of Natina in his personal circles, and upon meeting her, she reminded her of his sister Lisa. He decided to start managing her, and Natina brought in Shamari, who in turn also invited Brandy to join. And that's how Black Ivory was formed in 1996. But there was a small problem. The group's name, inspired by Ronald Lopes' production company, Black House, could not be used in the US due to a 70s group also called Black Ivory. So surprisingly, they went with just Black in the US and Black Ivory in the rest of the world. I think that was a strange decision, as they could have just been named Black everywhere. Lisa saw the potential and took them under her wing, signing them to Left Eye Productions, and later arranging the recording of a 3-track demo and a photo shoot for the group. She flew them to New York, where she had set up an audition with Tommy Mottola, chairman of Sony Music and probably one of the most powerful men in music at the time. The showcase consisted of the 3 tracks in their demo tape: I Do, Rainbow Drive, and a yet unreleased song called Fell to the Ground. He signed them right away, only 6 months after forming the group. Trackmasters were chosen to executive produce their debut album. They were a duo who had just gotten their own imprint label under Columbia Records after a string of hits for LL Cool J, Nas, Foxy Brown, and Total. They enlisted an impressive list of collaborators for the album that took about 2 years to complete before its official release in May 1999. But before they released any music on their own, they were featured on Someday at Christmas, taken from Jermaine Dupri's Christmas album in 1998. They appeared alongside Destiny's Child and Alicia Keys, among others. By the time their debut era began, Blaque were not just another new group. They were positioned for something much bigger. The single that would launch them arrived in March 1999. The song 808 was written by R. Kelly and Natina, and it was produced by R. Kelly, Trackmasters, and Corey Rooney. It was actually the last track recorded for the album, and the group was not a fan of the song at all.
It was the last one. We thought we were done. Mm-hmm. The album was done. Yeah. We picked the single. It was time to go. And they called and said, "You're going to Chicago to work with R. Kelly." And we were like, what? We heard the record. We hated it. Mm-hmm. We were like,
he was singing on the demo. Mm-hmm. She's got a 9 to 5. I was like, ooh, no.
The way he had that fast vibrato to it. Yes. We were like, oh no.
The song became a massive success, reaching number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and the top 5 on the Hot R&B and Hip Hop singles. It also did decently in the UK, where it went top 40 in the official singles chart and top 5 on the R&B chart. I think that one of the reasons for the success of the single was the music video, which showed the Y2K aesthetic that hadn't become redundant yet. There was a lot of this aesthetic in music videos from the era, mainly for R&B and hip-hop songs like TLC's No Scraps, Busta Rhymes and Janet Jackson's What's It Gonna Be, or Jennifer Lopez' If You Had My Love. It would take a while before basically every artist would have their futuristic video. From Britney to Janet, Mariah, Backstreet Boys, or Aaliyah. The group had a big push thanks to having a big label behind them and being mentored by Left Eye, who was going through a commercial renaissance with her group's album, Fan Mail. They also got a spot supporting one of the biggest groups of the time, NSYNC, during their sold-out tour. It's also worth noting that they shared their manager, Johnny Wright, with NSYNC and Britney Spears. He was considered one of the most powerful managers in pop music, having led both of these acts and Backstreet Boys to superstardom. Blaque, being marketed as a teen act, but with a mature edge, probably played a big role in their early success. Blaque said since the beginning they wanted to be a pop group, so they planned I Do, one of the poppiest songs on the album, as the second single. It came out in the summer of 1999 and the music video was super colorful and high-tech. They even had the cameras from The Matrix for some of the scenes. For the single version, the song featured a new rap from Left Eye. But while they wanted to push this single, another song from the album was growing organically.
That single was actually forced to be our second single because we actually released I Do. Mm-hmm. We shot a $1 million video. Took 3 days. Took 3 days to shoot the video for I Do, but the fans just kept calling the radio station and requesting Bring It All to Me by Blaque. And, you know, so we were forced to put that out as our second single.
They released the final single from the album in October 1999. Bring It All to Me has NSYNC as a credited feature, but only contains vocals from Jay-Z Chasez. It was originally meant to feature Justin Timberlake's vocals instead, but he was busy shooting a movie. I think it worked out for the better as Jay-Z's voice fits perfectly. The song was produced by Corey Rooney and L.E.S., who was known for his work with Will Smith. It was another big hit for them, reaching the top 5 on the Billboard Hot 100, top 10 on the Canadian Singles Chart, and charting in other countries like Germany, the Netherlands, and New Zealand. The music video followed the futuristic aesthetic of the era, and it didn't include Jay-Z in it, with Shamari jumping in to sing the second verse. The success of this song kind of varied the chances of I Do to become a hit, as it ended up between the two big hits of the album. Blaque also supported TLC on select dates of their Fan Mail tour at the end of 1999. The album eventually went platinum, selling 1.5 million, but it only managed to peak at number 53 on the Billboard 200. However, it stayed in the chart for 54 weeks, which I think is pretty good. The first era got extended by their appearance in one of the 2000's most beloved teen comedies, where they played as members of the cheerleader team, the Clovers. They will also feature in the soundtrack with 2 versions of a new track, As If, and a remix of Bring It All to Me. The film was a massive success, and it set the group well on its way to even greater things. At this point, Blaque were not just successful, they were showing signs of true staying power. And that makes what happened next so frustrating. Sadly, Left Eye's passing in April 2002, together with issues with their label, cut their rise short. But the potential was really there, as shown with their single I'm Good, which was part of the Honey soundtrack and did pretty well in some countries outside the US. I remember the music video used to be played a lot on the MTV European channels. But beyond the singles and visuals, the first album shows the tension between finding their own sound and delivering on the expectations of the era. I've seen and read many interviews with the group to make this video, but sadly I haven't found that much information about the making of the record itself beyond the singles. Upon release, the album didn't really get good reviews, with most critics comparing them to TLC and saying they lacked any personality to distinguish them from the many girl groups that were around at the time. I think the critics were quite harsh, and this would happen often with R&B records at the time. They would get men who are not fans of the genre to review these albums, so of course the reviews were not positive. I personally still love it to this day, perhaps aided by the nostalgia of following them during those days, but I think the album has aged well and most of it doesn't sound as dated as some other albums that came out at the turn of the millennium. Listening to the album today, what stands out is how it sits between several identities. It is quite varied in sound, despite staying mainly in the R&B, hip-hop and pop lane. Probably the long list of collaborators helped with that. The first track is Blaque Intro, very of its time, very fan mail. It then goes into Roll With Me, which was produced by Shakespeare, perhaps the hottest producer of that year, as he also produced Bills 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 by Destiny's Child and No Scraps by TLC. It's a cute track, but I don't think it added much to that particular sound. I wonder if its placement in the album signals a planned single release at some point, but I think it was a good idea to go for other songs, as this sound was all over the radio at the time, and it would have been difficult to differentiate them from the rest. The next song is I Do, which I already discussed earlier. And then we have Lenny, which is a song I didn't like back in the day, but I have learned to appreciate it with time. I think it has an interesting structure and vibe, with Natina's rapping and Shamari's and Brandy's singing bouncing off of each other. The song is followed by a goofy interlude of the girls pretending to be on a radio show. Then one of the poppiest tracks, Rainbow Drive. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. It was part of their demo tape, and it was the only song co-written by all three members of the group, alongside other collaborators. The next song is 808, which still sounds really cool to me, and was a great choice for the lead single. Another radio interlude follows, where a so-called fan accuses them of trying to be like other girl groups, specifically TLC. This one is quite funny, and it makes me think they were more than ready for all the comparisons they would face once the album got released. Their cover of Cyndi Lauper's Time After Time follows. I think this was quite a cool cover, and they sound great on this song. It was a wise decision to cover this song, as it plays to their strengths, particularly the melody, which feels right at home on the album. Bring It All To Me follows, and I have to say I love it when albums are not front-loaded with the singles. It shows that there was some thought put into the sequencing beyond marketing strategies. I remember loving how What About Us was track number 9 on Brandy's Full Moon. But anyway, the next track is also one of the most interesting album cuts, Mind of a King. It has Natina on lead throughout the entire song, with Shamari and Brandy on background vocals, and it contains a sample of Tom's Diner by Suzanne Vega. I love it. Another radio show interlude follows. I actually just found out the version without any interludes is on streaming. You can find it under Black Ivory. The next track was written by Mariah Carey, Don't Go Looking for Love. It's a very Mariah song, and I wonder if she wrote it around the same time she did the Allure album, as it could have easily been on that album as well. The next song, Release Me, was my favorite song at the time of release. It samples Sting's classic Shape of My Heart and builds into a gentle heartbreak song. Right Next to Me follows. I never paid too much attention to this song, although I really like the live instrumentation in the production. I feel like this would have been a very generic track had it not been for Shamari's beautiful tone, which by the way is one of my favorite tones in 90s R&B. The big ballad of the album follows. Stay By Your Side feels like a Whitney song to me. And finally, the album closes with When the Last Teardrop Falls. It's quite a nostalgic song that encapsulates that era of music quite well, a sweet ending to the album. There was a bonus track called Adore Me that was released as a CD single in Japan. It's a pretty cool song, although the production sounds a bit dated in 2026. So what is the legacy of this album and of the group in general? This is where the story becomes more complicated. I think those of us who lived through the era have a pretty nice memory of them and their music. But in general, I don't think they are known by newer generations that much, and they are not usually talked about. But they are definitely on the mood boards of a lot of creative directors these days. With pop music having entered an era that reclaims the Y2K era with artists like Pink Panthers and Charlie XCX, I think it's only a matter of time until we see a pop girl show up in a colorful outfit with bubble wrap around them. I think their legacy has more to do with the Y2K aesthetic, and they're being grouped with other artists of the time like 3LW, 702 or Maya. But musically, they are a bit forgotten. I think they were still coming into their own with the music they released, but there were glimpses of what set them apart from other girl groups. I also think the comparisons to TLC did not help. TLC are one of the best-selling groups of all time and one of the most influential, so it's a very difficult shadow to escape. I get the comparisons because there were two singers, one rapper, and they looked like a teen version of them. And of course, the Left Eye connection. But I don't think they were that similar when it came to the music. They also came out at a time of oversaturation of girl groups and shared a label with Destiny's Child, who released their breakthrough album The Writings on the Wall that same year. Actually, Matthew Knowles, Beyoncé's dad, was instrumental in blocking Blaque's follow-up releases Blackout and Torch. There have long been rumors about industry interference, although nothing has been substantiated. I wouldn't be surprised given how shady the music industry can be. Blaque are still out there touring, and they've been quite active in the last few years, being interviewed about their story and even getting an episode on NSYNC in 2025, which I highly recommend. I personally think they are an underrated group that didn't get the chance to continue evolving into their own sound. They were just so unlucky. Losing Left Eye in 2002 was a massive blow for them. Left Eye was their biggest support, she was close to the girls, and definitely helped form their identity. Without this mentoring figure, it was difficult to survive such a hard industry. And we can't forget that they were really young, just in their early 20s. There were also record label politics and an industry that was up in flames due to the appearance of file-sharing sites like Napster or LimeWire. And then they were planning a comeback in 2012 when founding member Natina was killed in a traffic accident eerily similar to Left Eye's death.
I want to be running my own stuff. I'm just like that. I'm the kind of person, everything got to go my way or no way at all. So I want to have my own businesses. I want to have my own law firm. I want to have my own film label. I want to have my own record label. I want all of that, and I want it to be successful, and I want to show people that don't know how certain things should be ran. I want to show them how I would run things, and then I want them to make a comparison and see that's how you do it. So, and then, you know, I want to go into film, and I want to get married and have children.
It was just too much to overcome. Their story also reflects how the industry of the time made space for success, but not always for longevity. Thankfully, we will always have this era to go back to, a time when Blaque almost dominated the world. I'm gonna share my top 5 favorite songs, but before that, here are some vinyl releases from the era. This 2LP is the only edition of the album on vinyl. It came out in the UK and it comes in a single sleeve with 2 discs housed in printed inner sleeves with a photo, the logo and the credits. It is the full album with the interludes included. The pressing sounds amazing, it's quiet and very well mastered. "808" includes the LP version with its instrumental and a great newly sung remix with new production on the other side. All the redone remixes this era were great actually. The single for I Do comes in 45 RPM and it contains the version with Left Eye, my personal favorite, and a few different mixes by Trackmasters that stay pretty true to the original. The R&B mix, however, is completely redone with new vocals and melody in a production more reminiscent of the Shakespeare sound. The Bring It All To Me single comes with a newly resung remix in 2 different versions, one with 50 Cent, probably my favorite remix from the era, and the other version featuring Free Jazzy Glaze. The vinyl also comes in 45 RPM and the second side includes instrumental versions. My favorite songs have changed over the years, but at this point I would put the version of I Do with Left Eye at number 5. At number 4, Mind of a King. My number 3 would be 808. Number 2 is Rainbow Drive, and my favorite stays the same after all this time, Release Me. I would add as honorable mentions Time After Time, Lenny, Right Next to Me, and Bring It All To Me. Looking back, Blaque's first album represents a very specific moment in music, when everything aligned for the group, but sadly not long enough to build a robust legacy. And that's perhaps why their debut still feels like the beginning of something that never fully unfolded.
Oh, we gotta go before this. Peace out, 2 fingers. Thank you. Come on, girl.
That's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Check out my other videos, subscribe, and let me know in the comments your favorite memories from Blaque. Thanks for watching. See you next time.